My dear soul brothers and soul sisters, now we are for the past 1 week celebrating the 196th birthday of Vallalar. As Dr. Shanmughamurthy said, Vallalar was one of the greatest scientists of all time. His contributions to various branches of Vallalar are immense. You can say he was not only a great scientist but a versatile scholar in many fields. He has written some 7,000 poems and 500 pages of prose. In them, he deals not only with spirituality but with all branches of sciences also. He was born in 1823 and he got his physical body transformed into a light body of absolute compassion, Arudal, in 1874. So with this physical body he remained for some 50 years, 3 months and 24 days. Within that short period, he was able to accomplish so much in the field of architecture. The way he has built his temple at Vadalu is a wonder of wonders, and his contributions to literature, grammar, linguistics, physics, chemistry, astronomy, cosmogony, and you name it, whatever there is, he has contributed his own ideas. That is why I call sage scientist Vallalar as the father of future sciences. For instance, I will give you 1 or 2 instances. Now, this idea is very much prevalent among contemporary historians and scientists and even futurists like Dr. Ray Kurzweil and Dr. Michio Kaku and Dr. Yuval Noah Harari. They think humans can be reduced to algorithms. That is, in short, according to information technology, human body can be digitally reproduced, human mind can be digitally reproduced. Okay, they can do that in a short span of 2 or 3 decades. But is man only the body and mind? That is the question. And according to our Vallalar system, Swami says, yes, everything is matter. Everything in the cosmos, including God and soul, everything is matter. He says, that is why he calls even God, Porul, matter. But he is divine matter. He says, there are 6 different varieties of matter. Like Darwin, he accepts life sprang out of, life was born out of inorganic matter. What are the 6 types of matter? If you can understand this basic problem, most of the problems in philosophy and sciences will be solved. For instance, the difference between mind and body, matter and mind, life and matter, all these things will be resolved. They have not been resolved for some thousands and thousands of years from the time of Plato. He was called an idealist. And modern scientists like Darwin and Marx, they say only matter exists. Other things like mind, soul and God, they are all speculative, that is imaginary. Now this conflict has been going on for thousands and thousands of years, but Vallalar seems to have solved these conflicts, these dichotomies in one single word. He calls it Arul. Dr. Michio Kaku says he wanted to formulate a formula within an inch The size of the formula should be less than an inch. And Vallalar has given us that unified force. What are the unified forces? Weak atomic energy, strong atomic energy, gravitation and electromagnetic forces. These are the four forces running the show in the cosmos. And in the last 30 years of his life, Einstein tried to bring them together into one single unified force, but he unfortunately failed. But long before Einstein, some 150 years before, Vallalar had said, yes, there was only one single force, and he calls it compassion, absolute compassion. There is only one thing in the total universe, it is the force of the absolute compassion. And all the matter, all the souls, all the other beings, including God, are only various degrees of this force of absolute compassion or supreme compassion. For instance, you can say from stone to God, it is only various degrees of consciousness called compassion. So you can say stone has got only almost nil degree of compassion, or very little, negligible, point not one, like that. And God is supposed to have 100% consciousness or absolute compassion. And what are these 6 types of matter? First, inorganic matter like stone and mud. And from the next is organic matter like amoeba and plants. And then mental matter. With man, matter evolves into our mind and thoughts. So this is the third level of matter, and Swami calls it mental matter, manam, mind, thought. We are at this stage in the course of evolution, and we have to evolve further. And Vallalar Swami says there are 3 more levels for matter to evolve into. What are they? The psychic or soul matter, and then spirit or spiritual matter, Anma, and then into God or divine matter. And he defines divine matter as absolute compassion, that is the providence aspect of God. He is always providing. He is always providing his children. Not only humans. Here Vallalar differs from all the other spiritual masters and religious leaders. All the others stopped with human beings. They came up to the level of humanism only. They cared only for the welfare of humans. But Vallalar Swami says, not only human beings, all the sentient beings are the children of God. A father does not distinguish between one child and another. A mother does not do that. But even in the case of human parents, this is the case. What about God? What about God? He should definitely care for all the sentient beings. So, Vallalar Swami has famously said, Vadiya pairai kandapodellam vadinen. Whenever I saw a plant withering for want of water, I too withered. I felt its thirst, he says. So his compassion was large, enormous, huge, and ultimate stage, that is as great as God himself. That is why he was chosen by God and sent into this world. So we have got 6 types of matter, and fortunately for human beings, this human body has got all the 6 types of matter, and one form of matter and energy can be transformed into another form of matter or energy. And modern physics accepts this transformation of energy and preservation of energy. And Vallalar Swami says these 6 types of matter, they are not 6 different types, but they belong to only one type, but various denominations they have got. See, we have got cents, dollars, and in the dollar bills we have got $10 bill, $50 bill, $100 bill, $100 bill, $1,000 bill. Like that, we have got all these 6 denominations in energy. And what is that energy? The ultimate energy is absolute compassion. And Swami equates Jiva, the individual soul, with Karuna, compassion. என் இரக்கம் ஒருவில் என் உயிரும் ஒருவும். See, when there is no compassion in my body, my life spirit will leave me. When there is no compassion in my body, my life spirit or soul will leave my body and I will die. So, what is death? According to sage scientist Vallalar, compassion is life. Where there is no compassion, one dies. It is as simple as that. So, as long as you have collected compassion to a critical level, it is called critical mass in atomic science. As long as you have collected and stored up compassion in your body, you will not die. It's as simple as that. He gives us two formula, scientific formulae. One is, what is life? What is soul? It is compassion. And what is God? God is absolute compassion. So, one can travel from matter to soul, that's also matter, and from soul to God, that is absolute compassion. It's only a matter of degree of compassion, and which we can increase by our volition. So, what is the evolutionary force? The evolutionary force covers the totality. It is the whole of nature. When I say whole of nature, it covers all the 84 lakhs of species. Yes, modern science has discovered so far only 2 million species, but Vallalar and other Tamil sages, they tell us in God's creation there are 8.4 billion species. So the remaining 6.4 millions of species are yet to be discovered by modern science. Unfortunately, by our mistake, by our greed for luxury and other comforts, we have been destroying each species in every day. Well, that's a different topic. So what I want to establish for the past 30 years is that Vallalar was a sage scientist, one of the greatest scientists of all times, and he has contributed original and future ideas in every field of science, arts and humanities. And I think in future scientists will listen to his ideas. For instance, as I started, humans are not only algorithms. Algorithms can manufacture in future robots that could think like humans, and with their electronic speed they can even excel humans in some fields, but beyond thought. The sage scientist Thiruvalluvar and Vallalar says there are many higher levels of consciousness. For instance, this thought is at the 6th level. We are endowed with a thought. It is called reflective consciousness or self-consciousness, that has produced language, and language has produced writing. So these two things contributed to the level of science and technology, and they have completely changed our entire civilization and upgraded human beings. To some extent, all the basic needs of humanity have been solved. But unfortunately, science has also given us dangerous military weapons like atom bombs and war machine. They could soon destroy entire humanity, not only humanity but all sentient beings upon earth. So it's a double-edged weapon. Thought itself is a double-edged weapon. It could produce good as well as bad. So how we are going to use that thought and its products of science and technology, it is given in the human's hands. That's why Vallalar Swami says humans are blessed by God, or endowed with by nature free will. And Vallalar says this free will is given in three forms: Jiva Sudhandaram, Dega Sudhandaram, Bhoga Sudhandaram. Jiva Sudhandaram means you can do whatever you want to do with your life spirit. Dega Sudhandaram means you can do whatever you want to do with your body. Either you can accept death and die, or you can aspire towards immortality and divinity and you can attain that. And Bhoga Sudhandaram, how much enjoyment you can have, like the Stoics, you can say, I have renounced my entire life and its pleasures. Or like the Epicureans, you may taste life to the fullest, to the last puff, as they say in modern times. So these three things, what are we going to do with these three things? These three things are mainly given to us through our consciousness. And human consciousness stands at the level of thought. And thought has produced all the great pinnacles of arts, humanity, as well as the dangerous atom bombs and other arms and armaments. Now what are we going to do? Are we going to choose the constructive path of science, of arts and humanities and sustainable science and technology, or the destructive path of wars among ourselves, between ideologies, between nations, between religions? We could choose both. The entire history of humanity, all the other types of salvations have been tried. For instance, Gnana, knowledge or wisdom, has been tried. Yoga has been tried. Any number of yogas have been given to mankind. And any types of ideologies. All these things have been, religions, everything has been tried. But still, man remains only at the level of animal. He's scientifically and technologically he has advanced too far. But we have not improved our character. We have not improved our love or compassion to that extent. Unless these two are running parallelly, we will meet only doomsday, destruction or catastrophe. That is what worries all the major thinkers of the world. And Vallalar offers there is only one way to solve this problem. He says, right from kindergarten, children must be taught compassion. Not only, see, the problem with this idea of compassion is that nobody has properly understood it. It's only a mood, it's only an emotion, it's only a thought. No, it is not. So, Vallalar says, compassion is the ultimate energy, physical energy like electricity and light. It, in fact, compassion is light. He says it is the ultimate force. And he says, ultimately there are two things in the cosmos. What are they? Light and space. And our soul, Vallalar defines as Van என்றும் ஒளி என்றும் வகுப்பரிதாம் பொது. Podu means our Atman, soul. And he says it at once contains both space and light. It is a fluorescent space. Van என்றும், you cannot call it space. Oli என்றும், you cannot call it light. It is both space and light. It is at once a fluorescent, shining light. That is your Jyoti. It is inside your body. You don't have to go to any temple or beyond the horizon of universe to find Atman or God. Both of them are already inside your head, at the center of your head. Not in the physical body, they are in the causal body. If you dissect a body and dissect your brain, you cannot see all these things because they are very subtle. Well, even our thoughts we are not able to see, but we have to accept this thought by inference because of its products. The entire civilization, particularly modern civilization and technology, they are all products of thought. So we have to accept, even though we are not able to see them, we have to accept this thought. In the same way, we have to accept the higher levels of thought called soul and God by inference. And Vallalar Swami has already seen it. See, according to science, seeing is believing. Pratyaksham pramanam. There is only one way by which science accepts things. Show me. Either with these fleshly eyes, I must be able to see what you say, or I must see it through electron microscope or telescope. Anyway, seeing is believing. This is the first law of science. And Vallalar Swami says, yes, my son, you can see inside the subatomic particles, you can see even electrons. And beyond that, even nanoparticles and quanta, you can see with your own eyes. In the same way, you can see far into the galaxies with your own eyes, because, my son, the evolutionary force has bestowed upon you 5 types of eyes. With these physical eyes, you can see physical objects. With your mental eye or imagination, you can see images, and you can imagine things as Einstein imagined. He calls it a thought experiment. What is that? Well, it's a sophistry. Thought experiment is nothing but imagination. And I think he had seen the 4th dimension. He had had some glimpses of the 4th dimensions. And he was poor in mathematics, and his friends, for instance, his first wife and his friend Grossman, they provided him with the mathematics with which to prove his theory, imaginative theory of relativity to the scientific world. So he had opened his mental eye to the highest grade, and I believe, it is only my own speculation, he had some glimpses. He was not able to stay there permanently. He had some glimpses of the 4th dimension and about the science of light and space. Okay, let us forget that. So this space is called at once both light and space. In the same way, God is also both light and space. Well, time is supposed to be a dimension of space, a part of space by Einstein. It is true, but he says Pagudi Veli. There are infinite number of spaces in nature, in the cosmos. And he says Pagudi Veli, we are living in, he calls it partial space. It is not full space. What is the full space? And he says this soul, our soul, it is also a form of space, but pure space and fluorescent space. And out of that pure space, all the other forms of spaces were created, or all the lower grades of spaces were created. This is a vast science as it is given by Vallalar, and in his Agaval poem he has described some 16 varieties of spaces. Well, all these things are to be first of all acknowledged by the scientists, and they have to verify. What I mean to say is that at least verify it and say they are nonsense. But before considering them, before verifying them, you cannot brush them aside as nonsense by a religious person. He was not a religious person. He was beyond religion. He himself called himself as a scientist. That is what was given in the report to the Brahmajnana Sabha, Theosophical Society, by his chief disciple Velayadanar. My guru always called himself a scientist, and he has dealt with everything only in a scientific way. Okay, soul is defined as fluorescent space, and God is defined as, forget about this, sorry to use these primitive religious terms like soul and God. Swami calls soul as Podu. It is common. See, at the level of beings, we are endowed with this type of soul or spirit, and he calls it Podu, general. when we say man, the abstract noun refers to all beings in mankind. The whole species is mentioned. In the same way, Podu means it covers all the beings, all the sentient beings are referred to by that word, Podu. So, we don't have to use the word soul. We can use the word common for all beings, Podu. In the same way, he defines the ultimate source of all creation as Arutperunjothi. How does he redefine God in scientific terms? It's a form of light. It's also a form of space. It's advanced space and light. He calls it மீன் மறுத்து சுடர்மயமாய் விளங்கும் விண்ணே. மீன் மறுத்து சுடர்மயமாய் விளங்கும் விண்ணே. And he says, at the far end of the universe, there is a kind of space. It is dazzling, fluorescent and brilliant. The space itself is light. And there are no stars. Meen maruthu. Meen means stars in Tamil. Meen maruthu, there are no stars. But the very space is brilliant, dazzling, shiny. Meen maruthu chudarmayamai vilangum vinne. And in his Agaval poem, he has described some 16 levels of space. Levels of space. And he has given us all the descriptions. All these things are to be verified by scientists in future. That is why I say, when they say life and human body, human life can be reduced to mere algorithms, and when these algorithms produce by robots into self-replicating robots, and we will be, there is a fear that we will be in future, in the immediate future, say in 50 years, we could be enslaved by these robots. I don't think so, because we have got 4 more layers of consciousness, higher levels of consciousness, like intuition, insight, and Siddha esoteric awareness, and mind of light. They called in Tamil Kuriparivu, that is intuition, Meyyarivu, that is insight, and the 9th degree of knowledge called Nunman Nuraibulam, and the 10th degree is called mind of light, Valarivu. Some 3000 or more, I don't know. I don't want to enter into that politics now. Some 2000 years ago, say scientist Thiruvallur lived. Even at that period, even before the Chidambaram temple was built, he says, Nun maan nulai pulam illan ezhil nalam, man maan punai pavai atru. With a beautiful simile, he has given us the ultimate answer to the problem of life and death and immortality, and what is soul, and what is God, what is the unlimited capacity of the human body, what is the anatomy, real anatomy and physiology of this human body. All these knowledges are compressed into one couplet by Thiruvallur. See, there are 2 kinds of spaces mentioned in this couplet. Nunman, Manman. Manman means physical sky or physical space. And he says there is another kind of space called Nunman, the subtle space, the subtlest space. What does he mean by Nunman? Nunman is your soul. Where is it? Inside your forehead, between the 2 eyebrows, behind the 2 eyebrows, at the center of your head, in the causal body, not in this physical body, but in the causal body. We have 7 more, human body has got 7 layers. This is the physical body, and behind this is called subtle body and the causal body. It is in the causal level, and these 3 are again divided into 7 types of bodies by Taittiriya Upanishad. This is called Annamaya Kosam, food body, and then inside it is Pranamaya Kosam, vital body or breath body or energy body, and behind it is their mental body, Manomaya Kosam, and behind that is called, there is one intelligence body, Vijnanamaya Kosam, and behind that is you have Anandamaya Kosa or body of love, and behind that you have your Atman. And Vallalar Swami says it's also a body, spiritual body, Uyir Udal. And behind all these things is God or Aruludal, body of absolute compassion. So we have got 7 layers of these bodies. Every human being is blessed with these 7 bodies, and we have to provide food, rest and exercise for all these 7 layers of the body. Then only the human life will be complete. And he has given us all. He has prescribed food for all the 7 bodies. He has given exercises for all these 7 bodies, and how to transform one type of body into another. All these things have been given in scientific terms, in all the stages and in all details. That's the beauty of Vallalar. He has considered this process of evolution of human being into a divine being in a completely scientific manner. I have given all these things in my book called Deathless Light Body and Deathless Consciousness. So there are 3 lights basically. Jodhiyul Jodi, Swami says. The first Jyoti or light is called consciousness. With our consciousness, we have to consciously enter into the soul body or Podu. Inside that, there is a light. It is called Arutperunjothi, the dancing form of Lord Nataraja. In religious terms, it is called Nataraja. We can forget about the religious term. And Vallalar Swami himself has defined it as Arutperunjothi. Jyoti means light. Perum means infinitely vast. And Arul means absolute or supreme compassion. So this is the final light. We have got 3 lights. Light of consciousness, light of soul and light of God. I will conclude. It's a vast subject. I will conclude it in 1 minute. And we are not only algorithms. Beyond the algorithms, we have got this inner space called soul, and beyond that we have got the light of God. Those things cannot be reduced to algorithms. So we don't have to fear about the domination of robots, whether we could be enslaved by the robots, provided we develop these higher 4 faculties of intuition, insight, Siddha esoteric awareness and mind of light, as Sri Aurobindo said. We should be prepared to develop our creative higher faculties, otherwise we could be enslaved. At least the major portion of human population could be enslaved by these robots. There is this danger. And let me say only one thing. For the past 100 years, modern science is facing a problem, a dichotomy between quantum physics and relativity theory, between Niels Bohr and Heisenberg and Einstein. Einstein himself said, I don't believe God plays dice. He didn't accept the uncertainty principle. Particularly, there is a thing called the observer effect. When a human makes an experiment, his very participation in the experiment changes the result of the experiment. This is subjective element, and modern science is supposed to be totally objective. They weed away all sorts of subjectivism, but here for the first time science becomes subjective with quantum physics. And how does it happen? It has not been explained. And Vallalar Swami says everything in the cosmos is a form of light. What is matter? Condensed light. That is why when we explode an atom bomb, what happens? Immense light, immense heat is inside the atom, and that is brought out by the explosion of the atom bombs or hydrogen bombs. So heat is inside, immense light is already there inside the atom. And Vallalar Swami says even the atom of love has got immense heat. Anbenum anuvul amainda peroliye. If you can break and explode the atom of love immense energy, light, but it would be beneficial to humanity, unlike the atomic explosion, which could destroy even cities. This explosion of the atom of love and absolute compassion could save humanity. Well, that is the future science. Now, what this concerning this observer effect, it says when a human looks at the quantum field, what happens? The inanimate objects of supposedly inanimate objects of quanta, they are given life by the very look, by the very thought of the humans, because your eyes have got light. I mean, your sight, it is a form of light. Your thought is also a form of light, and light is the life provider. Light, wherever there is light, it produces life. For instance, when Darwin said life was produced from the inorganic matter, from gases to protein, from protein to life, that was the formula given by Darwin in his Origin of Species and Descent of Man. But he didn't explain how inorganic matter was turned into life. And Vallalar Swami, even at the time of 1850s, Vallalar Swami says it was only the sunlight that transformed inorganic matter into life form. What was it? Sunlight. Sunlight is physical light, and our thought form is not only physical, it is more than physical. It's a form of light. Our thought is a form of light. Our sight is a form of light. So these two forms of light are creating instantly the inorganic quanta into living quanta, and they follow the wishes and ideas of the experimenter, the scientist. So the observer effect is the effect of human consciousness, because human consciousness is only a form of light, and wherever there is light, life will be produced. Inorganic matter will be transformed into living matter. So it's a life provider according to Vallalar Swami. So well, you take this analogy into human life, then what happens? When you are filled up with the love and compassion, this body of inorganic matter, which contains 6-7 types of tissues like skin, bones, nervous matter, all these things can be transformed into totally alive matter, living matter. When your body is filled up with full of absolute compassion, what happens? This whole body will be turned into light of compassion. Then you will become an immortal. You will not die. Ariya vadivu aduve arul vadivu. What is the immortal body which can be never destroyed? He says this body can be totally transformed into a body of light of absolute compassion. At that time, this body will become an immortal body, even a divine body. So, my dear friends, this is a vast science, like an ocean. Vallalar Swami has given us a very broad spectrum of branches of science. He has contributed to every branch of science. We can deal with them one by one. Question. What is the highest benefit a human can have? His physical health and mental health. Unless these two things are there, well, you cannot do anything else. And what causes damage to these two things? Stress. So when you are doing an act of compassion, you are stress free. It's as simple as that. There was one famous psychoanalyst, Erik Erikson. One day he had a patient. That patient said, "Sir, I am always in depression. Nothing satisfies me. Everything looks absurd. Life itself looks absurd to me. Why should I live? I'm constantly thinking of committing suicide. What should I do?" You know what was the medical advice given by Erik Erikson? He said, "Sir, you close your door, lock it, and then go outside, and you should do only one thing. This is the medical advice. Help every being you meet on the street with whatever he or she needs. Keep on doing this, only this. I will give you medicine after that. Keep on doing this for 1 month and then you come to me. Sir, how it will work? Don't ask me any question. Meet every person on the street, ask him or ask her, how can I help you? And if she tells you something, you do that as far as possible. And then you come and see me after 1 month. And that patient who was depressed, he came back to Erik Erikson and said, Sir, I don't need any medicine. I am cured, totally cured. I know why I should live. This life is precious. God has given me a wonderful life. Everybody is my brother and sister. Why? Everybody is myself. When I take care of others, I feel I am taking care of myself. My ego consciousness was like a small dot. Now it has expanded like the sky. I am all these beings. I am all these worlds. Like Walt Whitman, what he says in his Leaves of Grass. He's given wonderful poems. He has written wonderful poems on cosmic consciousness because he had felt cosmic consciousness. His guru, Ralph Waldo Emerson, only wrote about it, but Walt Whitman practiced it. That was why in his book Cosmic Consciousness by R.M. Buck, he was himself a medical doctor, R.M. Buck, calls Walt Whitman one of the greatest beings ever born who were blessed with, who acquired cosmic consciousness. What is cosmic consciousness? Nothing but developing your sense of compassion towards all beings. He was serving wounded soldiers in the Civil War. He was serving wounded soldiers in the Civil War. And one soldier said, more than all these medicines, I need Walt Whitman's love. I am expecting his coming today. So that is the kind of perfect love. It will give you physical health, it will give you mental health, and you will soon see that all of your needs are fulfilled by nature itself. Panchabhutas will come to your help. For the past 11 years, I have not touched even a single rupee, single penny. But I have traveled all over the world. God has seen to it. Vallalar has seen to it. See, I need something. I need some food, some water, some shelter. But they are automatically being taken care of by God. This you can understand only by practicing it. How can I prove it? Well, I am the example. For the past 11 years, there are problems. I have been a diabetic for 30 years. I have had heart problem for 10 years. But I still live because I believe in the compassion of God, in the compassion of Vallalar. Vallalar is taking care of me. My Guru is taking care of me. God is taking care of me. I see Guru and God only in the concept of compassion.